G'day, I'm Tom Wetton, and along with Colin Morley, we're going to catch up with three ex-Australian hockey players, better known as the Kookaburras, still heavily involved in the sport. Two competing in the Brisbane Hockey League Division 1, and one is the Queensland Academy of Sport head coach for hockey. Junior career, Matthew?
Started back in Tassie, back in Hobart. I guess I grew up around the hockey. The old man played sort of through state hockey in Tassie, and I just grew up, hockey on every Saturday. Used to be the little runt running around and get put in the 44-gallon drum bins and locked in goalkeeping bags, and just was pretty much there every week until sort of like I was allowed to play. I think I was about 5, minky through school.
And club down there?
Yeah, I grew up around the club, so around the Derwent, sort of Derwent through and through. And I guess with Dad played there, but I wasn't allowed to play till I was about 7, and they had to get special permission for me to play in under-13s, as that was the first sort of grade you could play in club hockey.
Yeah, there's no minky hockey back then. I remember that. You train, you're not allowed to play until you're 11. So yeah, it was great fun.
So Troy started where?
In Bundaberg, actually, with same scenario. Dad played, Mum played. Just had to, went out to hockey. You were out there from daylight, first light till dark. And for All Blacks was the club that I played for. They, family-orientated club in the country, and went through the ranks there, and played for Bundaberg for years until I was about 17, and then I moved away down to Brisbane, and from there it went gangbusters.
Finally, Stephen, junior career?
Yeah, I originally started in a small mining town called Moranbah, and spent about 4 years there. I lived directly across the road from the field, so I guess it only made sense to play hockey. But and then moved to Mackay and spent the rest of my junior career until I was 16. And then moved to Brisbane.
Stephen, what on earth makes you become a goalkeeper? Who wants to stand there while people fire rockets at you? I mean, where did you get the idea to become a goalkeeper?
Possibly, I did start on the field and become a goalkeeper because our goalkeeper didn't turn up for the grand final, so possibly I was the worst field player, but that's how I started and enjoyed it, and we won the grand final, and never looked back since.
At least you're honest.
You're a fullback, Troy, a midfielder or striker. What do you claim nowadays?
Wherever I get a spot, I don't care. I'll play fullback. Seems easy enough.
How do young players settle into their position? I mean, Matthew, I've seen you play at international level, state level and club level. You've always played fullback when I've ever seen you play. How do you settle into a position or decide, and a young player decide their position?
Oh, I guess from a young age, like when I was younger, I would have said I was the best centre forward going around in Tassie, but
not a lot to compete with.
Well, that's it. What are you saying? Nah, I used to play a variety of positions. I'd play up front, I'd play back, and I guess it was when I was first identified in a state team or a state program where I was put at fullback, and it was pretty much from my first under 15s I played fullback and was always regarded as a fullback. I guess back in those days, we say those days being 20 years ago now, I guess you played one position, and if you were good at it, that's where you stay. Whereas now you got to be a bit more versatile. But I just happened to stay. I enjoyed it.
You had a pretty good hit, so in those days I think it was the long ball on the grass, knock it up the front. I think that was pretty much determined where you played, if you could hit it longer than everyone else.
I think the older I got, the more I lacked in the skill department, so it was more tackling and hitting and passing. It was no such thing as eliminating and goal scoring.
Well, was it pushing was your weapon, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, pushing was, so I was told once, Woody.
What about you, Troy? How do you settle on your position?
Me was same thing. I was the best goal scorer back in the day.
Nothing's changed?
Yeah, not really. No. I think your personality. I think you make decisions. I think and how you do make those decisions determines how you are as a player. So some people are conservative, and I think they become backs in a way. So they've got to hold the fort, and they've got to assess things. They take a little bit longer sometimes to make decisions, but then you've got midfielders who've got a combination of both. They like to attack, but they've also got a personality where they need to have some structure and things, and then strikers are just out and out selfish, so they need to score goals. Goalkeepers, I haven't yet to come up with a theory for that.
Not only the ideal player, but the ideal person, eh? Midfielder.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, there's another theory about midfielders. If you're good at defending, you're a defender. If you're good at scoring goals, you're a striker. If you're not very good at either, you become a midfielder. Is that right?
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, that's pretty well suits me.
Troy, you mentioned at 17 moved away from home. The process behind that?
Yeah, that was a big decision. I mean, I hadn't been a part of any of the state teams and things in the junior ranks as other guys were. I sort of was a late developer. I didn't make any state team till probably 17. So then it was like, oh well, if I want to have a go, I might as well move. I didn't have anything tying me in Bundaberg apart from finish up an apprenticeship. So I took off, made the move, got away from mum and dad for a little bit, and then yeah, it was all happened pretty quick from there though.
And first move was to where?
To Brisbane, and I moved in with Dean Butler, of all people, in Tingalpa. We'd never lived out of home or away from mum and dad.
Who was the cook?
Cook, I think probably Pizza Hut was a few nights of the week. No, we had good club people around us. They actually looked after us. We had a second family, the Hales. They looked after us quite well. So breakfasts around there and dinners, and yeah, we had a second home, which was nice. But yeah, we looked after ourselves. We're pretty self-sufficient.
And Matthew, the time when it was time to move from Hobart?
Yeah, I remember 18, so it was a big move west to Perth into the AIS. So I was actually moved in with Woody and Butsy over in Perth. So that was our Junior World Cup year, 1997. We went over there for, I think it was about 5 months.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Leading up to the Junior World Cup. So the first time I'd been away from home, had no idea. These guys had a bit more experience than I did, and so they cooked my meals and looked after me.
How many years ago was that, Matthew?
15, we were talking about it this morning, actually 15 years ago. What we were doing this time 15 years ago.
Because
we went house hunting.
I believe it's a very special occasion today in particular.
Oh, maybe that's why we were talking about it. Yeah, you asked me this morning.
Might be somebody's birthday.
Yeah, it
Happy
could be.
birthday for today.
Yeah, thanks boys.
And Stephen, you said the move from Moranbah to Mackay is obviously a big move in itself. From Mackay for you?
Yeah, from Mackay, I guess I finished school and then headed to Brisbane. Similar, I guess, really similar path to Troy, as probably a lot of country kids in Queensland. If you're identified, you get to go to the Queensland Academy of Sport, which Matthew's now head coach of. So when I come through, Greg Browning was, and yeah, he identified me and asked me to move to Brisbane. From there, I guess, represented my state and then was invited to that Australian Institute of Sport in 2002. So yeah, I packed up and moved in with Bevan George. So at the time, Bevan was pretty well entrenched in the team, and I guess for a young guy moving over, it was pretty intimidating for the success he'd already had in the sport. But I mean, I didn't know either one of these two guys that well, even though Troy was from Queensland. I played a bit of NHL and under 21s with him, but yeah, so it was a new experience, but yeah, so I guess I'll always cherish. And
he remembered me. I put a couple of goals past him, yeah, in the AHL leading up.
Matthew has put a few past me, home goals actually. Yeah, he's been big help over the years. No.
And speaking of that, you talk about playing against each other. I mean, what was your attitude to each other in the field in those early days? I mean, were you aware of each other?
I think for me, I was always aware of Matthew from a goalkeeper. I know he's a fullback, but he was a corner hitter. And whenever we play against Tasmania, he was obviously always spoken about, not only in field play, but as a very dangerous corner hitter. At the time, hitting was probably more prevalent than it is now. But yeah, so I was very aware of Matthew, and Troy was obviously a drag flicker, but I don't know if I've ever
played more
played
together than against each other.
I don't think we've ever played against each other.
No.
Ever. So.
I think that, yeah, you're playing against each other. When you play for your states, you're ultra competitive. You know, you're there to win. And I know these guys probably tasted more success than what I would have, you know, with Tassie. But it didn't matter. You know, when you go out there to battle, then your best mates away from the field. When you're in Perth in an AIS environment, you train together and you go away with Aussie teams. Obviously, you're your best mates and you're really close. But when you go back to playing for your state, it didn't matter when you cross that line out in the field. It'd be a lot of verbals. I'm sure we've had a lot of verbals on the field, but the best thing was you could walk off and have a beer afterwards and, you know, put it to bed on the field. and that was the best thing about it, I think.
I think
So
it's
you talk about the move from each of your home bases over to Perth, but on the way we've ended up with Stephen as an electrician, Troy's as a plumber come project engineer at the moment, and Matthew in your spare time became a carpenter and now the head coach of QL. How did you guys fit all that in to get those trades under your belt?
Well,
you go.
I was going to say, well, I guess my apprenticeship as a chippy took was supposed to take 4 years. It took 7.5. So it was.
Is that because you were good at it?
You could look at it in many ways, I think. Look, basically, it was just stopping and starting, and actually having to accumulate the amount of time. You know, there's so much time away with with the Aussie team or with AHLs and national championships. You just it took that much longer to do.
You have to survive.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You know, if you didn't do it, then you didn't eat. That was the reality of it. Like, you know, you have to work outside of hockey, and at that time, although we're getting a small allowance, but you just had to work. If you wanted those extra things, you just did it, and you get by. You make means. We helped each other out. You know, I had a car that I shared with a few people. I took them to people to trainings, and you know, you just helped out each other and got by. It's just you have to do it.
The old cream Commodore.
Beige.
Beige. At the end of the day, it's just one of those things. You need an out from hockey as well. You can't. I suppose a bit insight into Perth is it's almost 24/7 hockey. You know, it's nearly 7 days of the week you've got hockey or you've got something related to hockey on. So you need that out. You need to go away and have a different group of blokes that you hang around with, and you need to do something different just to keep fresh.
So Stephen, the move over to Perth, when did you don the green and gold?
Only about, I think, 3 weeks after I moved over, to be honest. So it was in Adelaide at a Four Nations, debuted against India, 2002. I'm pretty sure both these blokes played in my debut game actually. So yeah, I guess I hold a lot of special memories with the pair beside me. But yeah,
What was the score, Stephen?
it was 4-0 to Australia. Clean sheet on debut.
He keeps
Was
the
that well, so
record.
that you
He
didn't
keeps
let
the record of the goals against him.
Matthew's just saying they kept them out of the circle so they didn't have a shot. Is that right?
Well, that's right. Yeah,
To be
I
honest.
did my job.
To be honest, I didn't have many.
Moving forward, you've all gone to Olympic Games. Just for those of us who will never have a chance to do that, what's it like the first day? Each of you. What are your impressions, and what's it like the first day you move into the village? Troy?
Usually you move in there as Australians hockey team before everyone else, so there's not much there and not much going on. They're setting things up around you. So, but the experience, yeah, you can't. It doesn't really sink in until your first game. I don't think you're caught up in the whole. You know, you're away in a tournament and things like that. But I don't think it really sets in until you walk out on the field that first time the anthem goes and you know you're ready to do it. But experience-wise, there's nothing to match it. All sports, all athletes, all there in one place. It's a bit over, you know. It does get distracting sometimes. You get caught up in, oh, there's such and such. I'll go and have a, see if I can get an autograph or something like that. But yeah, then you go, oh, I don't want to annoy them because that seems like I'm a bit of a, I don't know what you want to call it, but I don't want to harass them and don't want to be seen as being a fool. So you sort of leave them alone. There's a general respect, I think, in there.
I think we were pretty lucky as well that both Troy and I got to go to Sydney and home Olympics. So there was so much sticks out of my mind about I actually probably can't remember going into the village as much as the opening ceremony, walking up into the main stadium and which was just crazy, and never ever forget. That's probably one of the best moments in my life, the sporting life. But then. I
haven't seen you run 400 metres that fast in my whole life.
I'll tell you what.
It started as a walk in, and then it was just a sprint. Everyone was running around the whole of the stadium.
I think your emotions take over. You sort of you do lose control about. Don't think about what you're doing. You're in the moment. So that was pretty special. And I suppose the first game when you get out there and all of a sudden you see a packed stadium and it was like a cauldron in the hockey. It was like the ground was right down. And the grandstands built up around it. It was your home crowd. You knew everyone was there supporting you pretty much. So that was pretty special. But I think now, that it's all over, and Lambie did the same. Once it finishes, you don't actually realise how fortunate you were.